The purpose of this show is to guide you to realign with habits that get you to live the life you've always dreamed of. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with Jesse Ewing. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle, where you can access your full potential right now. Finally break free from destructive habits. That dream life, if you want it, you can have it. This is where you transform your health, mind, business, and relationships, or do nothing and keep your life the way it is. But if you're ready for change, you're in the right place. This is where you're gonna learn how to live a habit-based lifestyle. You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewing. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.
I thought it would be super powerful to just simply talk about commitment and what I've seen from commitment, not only in myself, but from my wife, because we both made a commitment and said that I do. We made a commitment to stay together for better or worse, in sickness and health. And sometimes it may feel like that changes through heaven and hell, mountains and valleys, all these things. But literally 14 years we've been married, a little over 15 years we've been together, 3 kids later, 2 businesses, 2 gyms, moving to Southern California almost a year ago, to us starting our own marriage boot camp. Our marriage, to me, is a definition of boot camp, but really, I want to honor my wife today because she has shown me what commitment and what being committed is every step of the way since we first got married, and actually since we first met. And I think back to even just getting married and how my wife would show up in moments. Like I remember on our wedding day, her actually pulling out what she actually wanted to read, her own vows that she had written. And it was super powerful, but it meant a lot to me because it signified what my wife truly felt inside. And I remember the words that she said that day. And it was super powerful. And at times, we'll watch our old wedding video and stuff like that. But just to know that that was specifically written for me, specifically written for our wedding day, and just how special that was. But every anniversary, I can tell you this, since our 14 years, my wife has shown up in a very committed way. But I wanted to honor her specifically today. For 4 years ago, she had arranged a very special anniversary. I'd went through a coaching program called Warrior Week in January 2015. I wanted to continue coaching, and back then the only way you could continue coaching is you had to pay $50,000 for 6 months of very high level coaching. And typically what you would do is you would go through Warrior Week, and then the guys that wanted to continue on, they would pay $50,000 and they would keep coaching in the group. And I was one of 2 that didn't. But my wife at the time was completely against it. She's like, hey, that's great, you're changed. That's great, all this has happened. But you need to actually come home and prove that you're going to live this before I invest, or before we invest this kind of money. At the time, I was super frustrated, but I came home, and over the next 6 months, I would dedicate myself to living what they called the Warrior's Way. I remember a lot of the things I was tracking, I was doing it on paper. I had my own way of tracking it, but most of the guys that I had went through this program with had still been doing coaching. They were still in this. I had referred a few friends of mine to go through the program. And as they came out, they started getting these jackets. And I'm like, man, I really want one of those jackets. So I told my wife, she's like, what do you want, for our anniversary? What do you want to do? And I'm like, man, I really want one of these jackets. I didn't really think much about it, but at the time, the only way you could get a jacket was if you actually stepped into the coaching. So in other words, the jacket was $50,000, and the only way to get it was to do the coaching. So my wife decided she was going to invest the $50,000 into me, into our marriage, into our family to get the jacket and coaching. So I still actually have this jacket today, but at the time I had no idea what was happening. We ended up making arrangements to come to Southern California to stay at the St. Regis in July of 2015 for our 10-year anniversary. And we ended up staying the week and celebrating our anniversary. And we had this private dinner set up. And I remember arguing all the way down to dinner because my wife had set it up. And here I'd spent the last 6 months setting up pretty much every date night. I remember arguing all the way down to dinner because I was upset that my wife had actually set it up instead of allowing me or letting me do this. You know, we were in this huge argument. We get down to the beach club and we have a drink. Next thing I know, she's got me in a blindfold and we're walking down to the beach, and I sit down in this chair and I hear, you know, this famous 2-clap boom and on the 3-peat. And if you've ever been through Warrior or Warrior Week or any Warrior event, that's kind of their signature thing. 2-clap boom. There was 3 guys there. They happened to be the 3 guys that were the coaches of Warrior. We had Garrett, Sam, and at the time it was Satema. And I take my blindfold off and they're both standing there. There's these Warrior flags. And Garrett presents to me this, you know, knife, this, you know, jacket, this $50,000 jacket. And I have my wife there and all these guys, and we have this big celebration. But I watched the level of commitment my wife had that day. She was willing to invest $50,000 into me, into our marriage and into our family. And, you know, one of the things she said is, I wanted to get you something that would mark us investing in each other and our marriage for the rest of our life. And this amount of money was 5 times more than I'd ever paid for any coaching. Warrior Week back then was $10,000. So this was 5 times that level. You know, I can remember several times in my life where I didn't even make $50,000 in my life. So to be investing $50,000 in coaching, I don't know if I would have actually done it. Like, yes, I say I wanted to, but to invest 5 times more than I ever had before was crazy. But when I think of the word commitment, I picture my wife, and she has been so committed. And she was committed back then to just pay $50,000 for a jacket. Like, screw Louis Vuitton, Chanel, all these other purses, people complaining about white t-shirts costing $200, a purse costing $3,500. This was a jacket that cost $50,000. And who would actually pay for this? Who would actually pay or invest $50,000 into their marriage today? I don't know anybody that would, other than my wife. And there had never been a female that invested or reached out to the guys and said, yes, like, I'm going to pay $50,000 because I've seen the changes in my husband and I've seen the changes in our relationship. But who would have known this day 10 years ago or 4 years ago, we would actually be living 10 minutes from this beach 4 years later, which is today. That same year, 4 months later, my wife was actually pregnant at the time. We would have our third child, Jocelyn. And then 3 years later, we would actually sell our dream home. We would sell our business at the peak. We would move to Southern California. And then a year later, we just had launched, just a week or two ago, our marriage boot camp, our first ever. So to see that day as 2010 would mark a significant place in our relationship where we would not only invest that day in each other, but that was really a day where my wife put a stamp on commitment. and really said, I believe in you. I believe in our marriage. I believe in us and where we're going. But this was a massive move that we made in life and in business. And the type of commitment it took for my wife to show up was, I can't even really say it. And so as I think of this word commitment, I really think of my wife. And I think of how many spouses are not willing to invest a couple $100 to a couple $1,000 in their spouse to bettering their marriage, bettering each other. Like, your marriage has a price tag on it. And this is what gets so frustrating in life today is we have, these times in our life where marriage has a price tag. Our marriage has a price tag, like someone's spending too much money. Not only that, but the relationship has a price tag. The investment of where we decide to go all in on our marriage is. But I'm so thankful and so grateful that my wife sees the return on investment, not only in me, but in our marriage and the things that we have done between both of us, the things that we have co-created between us. But every step of the way, she has always shown how committed she is. And so I just want to honor her today, that this podcast is really about her honoring our marriage, honoring our commitment to be together. But not only that, just being committed as a wife, as a mother, as my partner, as my co-creator. And I'm so grateful for her that I get to wake up next to her every single day. So here's the question. What type of commitment have you shown your spouse? Think back to how long you've been married. What type of commitment have you shown your spouse? Maybe it's from a level of 1 to 10. And what would you be willing to invest in them? Invest in each other, invest in your marriage. Because it's not just about the money, it's about the commitment. People will pay hundreds of thousands of dollars on their wedding day for their wedding. But how many of those same people continue to invest in that same level for years beyond? Because if you're not willing to do it then, it's just for looks on that wedding day. And the final question is this: what is in the way of you taking your marriage to the next level? Is there a financial block? Is there a block in commitment? Are you waiting for your spouse to actually show up? But whatever it is, what is in the way? And if you find this out, begin to work through this, begin to work past this. So I want to thank you guys for being on here listening today. I want to thank my wife, Katie, for celebrating 14 years together, and just show her gratitude today, and just for her to know how much I love her and how grateful I am to be her husband. If you guys are looking to connect further with a group of like-minded people, join myself and so many others in the Habit-Based Lifestyle Secrets group on Facebook, where I will be dropping daily habits to help you live to your full potential. If you want to be one of our next case studies and begin living this habit-based lifestyle, maybe you have questions about marriage boot camp. We have another one coming up September 22nd and 23rd here in Dana Point, California. Feel free to reach out to me, Jesse at habitbasedlifestyle.com. Until next episode, have a great day.
The purpose of this show is to guide you to realign with habits that get you to live the life you've always dreamed of. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with Jesse